This is the Nassaumen Hockey Podcast with James Nichols and John Zella. All right, so here's the thing. I know that we usually get to On the Island later, and we're going to get to On the Island later, but I have to get this out of the way right now because it's just been bugging me literally all day, and I don't even know how this happened, but I don't know. Somebody asked me if they should start questioning Lou Lamoriello, and I was like, no, too early. Like, we've been to two playoff series, not even series. We've been to the playoffs twice under his regime.
And one playoff rounds.
One playoff rounds, got deeper every round. And then the conversation took a turn. And they started talking about JG Pageau. And listen, okay, before I go any further, look, I love my followers. Thank you for following me. I appreciate you. I'm not putting anybody out. It was not just one person. But why? Why on earth are we questioning JG Pageau? Like, no, they didn't spend too much money on him. Yes, he's been worth every penny. That's pretty much my motto at this point. He's definitely the second best Islander on the team because I don't see anybody performing better than him. He is worth $6 million a year. The first and second round pick we paid for him, I would do it 10 out of 10 times. The third round pick, I don't even care about. Can we stop? Can we stop? I don't like it. I'm offended. Not really offended, but on behalf of Pageau, I'm offended. Okay? He's the second best Islander on the team. Can we stop? That's just my opinion. Am I wrong?
I mean, we can definitely dive into it a little bit later. He's definitely, I mean, and I think he likes being in this role a little bit, right? Like, he's not the main guy. He's not Barzal. He's not even Lee, right? He doesn't get the recognition that the rest, and I think he kind of quietly plays that third line role. He knows his role on the team, and he's really been, I can't believe he has 7 goals this season.
Let me riddle you this, okay? Today, as you're listening to this, is the 1-year anniversary of the acquisition. We got JG Pageau 1 year ago. Today, as you're listening to this, look out for my article. It's coming. I'll give you all the facts in there. He's an Islander through and through, not just because he puts the sweater on. He is just the epitome of what the New York Islanders are. He is gritty. He is hardworking. And he does literally everything for this team. Yes, Trotz puts him out there and makes him do it, but that's because he can.
Yeah, he's an elevated Casey Cizikas.
That's a great way to put it.
If Casey Cizikas got power play time, and I feel like Pageau has a little more of a touch that Cizikas doesn't always bring. He definitely has it. We've seen it from him. But Pageau brings it almost every night.
Right.
And that extra gear of speed.
That
he brings to the table. And we've also seen Cizikas do that. But I think
we have, but he's just slightly better. Maybe not even slightly, a little more than slightly better than Cizikas in all of those aspects. And I love Cizikas as much as the next guy, but I also love Pageau just as much. He is that much better than Cizikas. He is consistently, since he's been an Islander, up in the mix of points with the top line. After Eberle, after Lee, and after Barzal, it has always been him since he's been on the team. So let's stop with this silly narrative that JG Pageau cost us Devin Tays. They couldn't afford to go get a goal scorer because of him. No. They got who they needed. Lest you forget, there was a black hole of the third line before they got him. He's brought stability to this lineup, and he is just... He was so necessary for this roster, and I'm gonna end it there because this was... I can't even believe I had to do this.
Yeah, we can talk more about the lineup when we get to...
Yeah, we'll talk more about the lineup
later in the show, because I do like this conversation, and I did not expect this. So
yeah,
I'm excited about it.
I've been thinking about it all day, and I was like, oh man, I can't wait till later so I can get that off my chest. But for now, hey John, what's up? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. It's been an up and down week all around, hockey and otherwise. So happy to be here and doing this thing and being able to kind of clear my mind a little bit. It's, I definitely see what you're doing, and just kind of like this cathartic dump where, we have this platform. We can just
Yeah.
do our thing and get it off your chest. And then, after the show, we just feel better. We had everything out. And it's like when you write an article, I do enjoy that, but there's something very different about what we do here.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong.
I enjoy it.
If you're one of those people who tweeted at me, and I don't think I'm trying to put you out. I'm not mentioning any names. And if you want to talk about it, I'm open to it. But just know my mind is made. You're not changing it. I promise you.
Yeah, I have some thoughts too, and I want to make sure that we get to the important things of the show. And first,
first let's get to Around the Rink, brought to you by DraftKings. And you've heard about DraftKings before. You've heard us talk about it. The leader in daily fantasy sports, and how payday can come every day by entering their contest with huge cash prizes. This week is jam-packed with action ranging from basketball to golf, and DraftKings has plenty of ways for you to have a front row seat to all of that action. DraftKings has paid out over $7 billion to all users across all sports. So DraftKings is the leader in daily fantasy sports, and there's no better place to get in on all the action. Now that you know how to play, download the DraftKings app and sign up for DraftKings using code THPN. New users will get free entry with their first deposit. That's code THPN to get a free entry with your first deposit only at DraftKings. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You're a big fantasy guy.
I am a big fantasy guy.
You enjoy that.
I
do some writing. Who do you write for? What's the site?
Fantrax. Yeah, I was with Fantrax. I'm not with them any longer. Actually, when I took over my new role at as the editor-in-chief of Isles Blog, I had to step away from Fantrax, but great site. I highly recommend Fantrax. Check them out. They're the most customizable season-long fantasy sports website, in my opinion. They're very good for that, but a little different than DraftKings.
Yeah, no, I obviously it's different, but you're just a big fantasy guy. Who are you starting tonight? What was your lineup? You were going so you were right before we press record.
Yeah, I was looking at so in my league we have a games limit, so I can't play one position too many times, and we have 2 slots for each position, so 2 centers, 2 left wings, etc. And I'm looking at my goaltenders, and I own both tandems for Boston and the Islanders. So we have a maximum of, what's 56 plus 56? 120.
112.
112. Thank you. I can't math. I'm an English teacher. 112 games max I can play. So I could either start both the Islanders and Boston goalie tandems every single game of this season, or I could try and do a mix and match and be like, oh, I kind of like who I have going tonight, Mike Smith against I think it's Ottawa. Oh no, it's Vancouver. So I could either take a risk and be like, all right, I'm gonna lose a start for Semyon Varlamov, or I'm gonna, just make sure that I ride him out for the season and collect as many points from him as possible. It's tricky. It's fun though. This league I'm in is really deep, and it's like legitimately managing a real lineup.
Yeah, listener, I hope you understand that better than I do, because I'm used to like Yahoo Fantasy, and I'm like, oh, I play this guy. I have this guy on my bench. I think he's gonna win because they're playing a crappy team. So that was definitely over my head. Whenever I've played fantasy, I'm 4th place, and I lose in the second round.
Nice.
I've been doing it for 10 years, maybe. I've never made it past the second round.
Nice.
And I always tried to think I outsmarted the system. It's like, oh, I don't need a Crosby. I'll get Kunitz. Like, I always try to find the guys that ride shotgun to the main guys, and it gets me like,
listen,
it does me well for
sure,
the most part. But like when it comes down to it, it never works. That third guy on the line or second guy on the line always falls by the wayside. They get changed out, and I just wound up losing a bunch of points. So I try to just like cycle through that all season long, and
I'm big on even in regular format. I'm big on goalie tandems, and I'm big on line combinations. So if just for instance, Anthony Cirelli on the Lightning, he's on the first power play unit and he's on the second line. So I'll get him because he'll put up power play points, and he has good line mates because I think Stamkos plays his right wing. So
it is a really good way to learn about the players in the league.
Very good. My buddy doesn't know anything about hockey. He got a partner for the league that we started a couple of years ago, and now he's like he's pretty deep into it. Like he knows a lot now.
Yeah, it was almost like when I'd play the NHL series hockey games, you always learned about all these guys. And then even when you started drafting, if you finished, I was a career mode guy. That was my big thing.
Yeah,
so when you go through and do the drafting thing, you kind of see these guys coming out. After a while, they're just made up names. But for at least a couple of years, it's real players. So you can kind of see
like prospects and stuff, and like
who's already in your system, and you kind of learn that who's developing. Or I remember. I think the last time I played these games, it was like probably Niederreiter was still a prospect. Like trying to get him into the actual lineup, and then you're trading. I always love this. Like I just played the games for so long that there'd be trades in the middle of the season. Yeah, and I tried to mimic the trades that happen in real life,
and you
for my team. And it's impossible.
Yeah,
it just never worked.
And then the opposing team, they'll be like, "You're nowhere near what we're asking for," and I'm like, awkward because you did that in real life. So
And then I was playing. I sent you and Joe the videos of I was playing Breakaway '98.
Yeah, you were.
And Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey.
Yeah,
those games are so hard. Breakaway was way easier than Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey for some reason. I remember playing the latter, the Wayne Gretzky's game, way more. The play-by-play and the noises and all the things, I had a serious flashback. I don't know if anyone listening has played this, maybe look it up on YouTube or something. When you're choosing your lineups, the noise that it makes when you choose the lines, and oh my God, it was incredible. Like listening to the play-by-play, it just really, really brought me back. I just unlocked some memories that I knew I had, like I remembered it, but it was incredible. And it was amazing. Because in Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey, it was the fisherman. That was the logo of the team. So it was fun. And then in Breakaway '98, it was the wave jersey with the original crest.
Yeah.
And just thinking about and we'll eventually get to Around the Rink here. We have a little new setup here. I'll finish up, but it was interesting. Just and they did this with Tom Brady, right? The Madden games, like the first game he was in and the most recent one.
Oh yeah,
and they did that comparison,
graphics, right? Oh,
and so I'm playing Breakaway '98, and of course I get a penalty, and because I'm just mashing the controller.
Someone disciplined.
So because I didn't know whatever. It was like hook and whatever. Everything's just the same. Like there's like a million buttons on a N64 controller. And the guy skates into the penalty box, which is ice level. Like he skates into the penalty box without stepping up or anything, which is funny on its own. And then he sits down and then just becomes like a cardboard figure.
Door
like
doesn't even open
himself anymore. It does open. But it does open, but you can just see that there's ice on the inside of the penalty box. Like he just skates in, but then he sits down and stops moving and just becomes like a cardboard figure like the crowd is. And he just sits there.
That's great.
And it's, oh my God, it was, I forgot that's what it was like. Like I play old video games. I still like break them out every once in a while, but some of those things are really funny to go back and look at.
Yeah. I mean, I still play the new NHL games. I love them.
I only have a 360, so I can't, they stopped making past 16 or 17.
Yeah. Probably.
So I broke my streak of getting it for Christmas every year.
Yeah. I'm a nerd. I have the new Xbox, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna get the new NHL, and I was like really excited, like you said, to play career mode. And when I started it when it came out in September, there wasn't even a season yet. I was like, I can't wait to see what they made Sorokin. Started the game, wasn't even in the game. I was like, you got to be kidding me. So,
oh right, and then you recently did a Twitch on that, right?
Yeah. So I started a franchise mode because they finally put him in the game. He was a downloadable content. They put him in, and now I have him. So not bad. They put him in as an 80 overall, and he has the potential to become a starting goaltender, which I'm pretty sure that's going to happen.
Yeah, some way to go, I think. But we could talk about that too.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little later. But for now, let's talk about the Professional Women's Hockey Players Association, referred to as the PHWPA. They will be holding their first Dream Gap Tour game this Sunday at 7 p.m. at Madison Square Garden. And the game will air on NHL Network in the US and Sportsnet in Canada. So pretty cool stuff there. MSG Network will re-air the game on Monday, March 1st at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, my birthday. This also is the first professional women's hockey game being played at MSG. So that's really cool. I didn't know that, and I was really surprised when I heard it. Team Minnesota will skate against Team New Hampshire.
I think this is the first Dream Gap Tour of this year. That's my mistake in the notes. I think they've done some of these games before.
Oh yeah.
And what we should have said before, kind of jumping in, is that we changed this from around the NHL to around the rink, very intentionally.
Sure.
Because we want to cover more hockey, as much NHL action as there is. There's so much more hockey than just the men's game in particular, and the NHL and the AHL and all those different things. So we want to highlight the just growing the game. That's all a lot of people want to talk about, but it's rarely something that you see up until really recently. So we had a conversation last week, James, Joe, and I, and we're making a conscious effort to kind of bring some of this to the table. It'll expand some of our horizons. We hope to have some people on that know about the PWHPA and the NWHL, and everything else. Just the different initiatives going on in the game. If we're lucky enough, hopefully we can bring some people onto the show that can speak to it a little bit more than we can. But we'll do our best, and we'll make sure we're doing our research. And it's interesting. I think having coached women's hockey at SUNY Oswego, it was the club team, but so it wasn't NCAA. But I learned a lot about what they can bring to the table, and the amazing skill level and the commitment and all of that. And it's just not different. So it's important to we think it's important to highlight that stuff. So this is super cool. They've made the PWHPA Dream Gap Tour. I believe it's sponsored by Secret. Is partnered with a lot of different teams, Toronto, and I believe Chicago, and the Rangers, and maybe one or two others. But it's really cool to see what they're doing, and like I said, growing the game. It's rising tide floats all boats in this sport. Having I love that it's going to be on national television. It's going to be broadcast far and wide. It's unfortunate that the NWHL playoffs couldn't be. That they just didn't make it quite their quote unquote bubble, didn't make it quite as far as they'd hoped, and those games were canceled that were going to be on NBC, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think they were supposed to be on NBC.
So definitely super cool. Speaking of the NWHL, did you see any video? Did you catch the videos from any of those games?
No, I didn't. Tell me about it.
So I remember on a couple, because I'm going through Twitter, and there were a bunch of people that were tweeting about the game. So someone had the Twitch link, and I clicked on it, and I'm looking, and I'm like, the entire neutral zone is blue. Really? Like the ice is blue. And I also noticed that the posts of the net were purple. And this is like some Jeff Merrick stuff. I don't know if for those listeners of 31 Thoughts and Sportsnet and stuff. He's always like, I'm Team Chaos. I want to do different stuff. He said multiple times, I want to change the color of the ice. Like we can make it green or something. And it's wild. And I want to know what your thoughts are on stuff like that, like changing little things to like make it more fun. I know you weren't a fan of the helmets, so maybe like on the, it's like more ads on the ice or things like that. Is it a distraction?
No, well, so I'm not like against making things more fun in a sense of like being more creative with color schemes and stuff. Like I wouldn't see any issue with like maybe changing, like you said, the goalposts are purple, right? Why not allow every team to have goalposts that are their team colors, right?
I actually really like that. I wonder if it's a distraction. Like I noticed it like maybe the second or third clip I was watching. I was like, wait a second. And I paused. I was like, yeah, that's purple.
Yeah.
Very purple.
But like it's clearly, I mean, if they're doing it in one league, it could happen in another. It's not a distraction. Why? I mean, I don't see the, if anything, I don't know if this is controversial saying this, but like, and not like weird, whatever. the goalpost being red makes it an easier target to me. No,
I don't know.
right?
I
So I don't know.
feel it would just be something to get used to in like every rink. They'd have to have like approved colors. Like you can't make them white where it's like hard to see
Yeah, well,
against
right.
the
So it would
boards or
be like,
something like that. They'd have to like say like it's
yeah,
got to be a dark color
it'd be like
and
the base color of your team, right? So for the Islanders, it would be blue. For the Kings, it would be black. Or for the Golden Knights, it could be gold. Like that would be sweet. Like a gold post, that'd be so cool. And even like around the boards, the top of the boards where the glass starts and the boards end is usually red, right? Make that similar. Keep it uniform. Make it team colors. Like it would just be visually pleasing. Like I think it would look really nice.
yeah, I think the NHL having a little more fun with that kind of stuff would be great.
Yeah,
It
for
would
sure.
just show some. There's not a lot of personality anywhere, So like, there's only so much a player can do with their equipment. There's only
Right.
so much if you're not a goalie anyway. There's only so much that you can do. So yeah, it would give the rink a little bit more personality. That's where your attention is most of the time. You're not worried about especially if you're not at the game itself.
Yeah, I feel like the blue line and the red line, they have purpose, so like keep those that way. Um, but I guess the shade of the ice. I mean, I feel like white's easiest for TV viewers to see the black puck, if that makes any sense. But
I didn't watch long enough to see if that was a problem or not. I wondered how it was as a player, and it's
right,
something that I don't know that could be different rink to rink, because these players are so used to like they notice the chip in the puck and the weight difference, right? Like they just every little thing is kind of like and I always think that Jack Eichel
yeah,
article on the Athletic where they outline his whole schedule and like eats an apple at 3:28, throws out apple core at 3:31. Like
yeah,
I can't imagine like changing things like that. Even goalposts. Like I wonder if the
yeah,
NHLPA would even go for it, like or again they would have to. I'm sure both parties just need to like come together on it. But I
right,
thought it was at least interesting that they were making the game fun and approachable and accessible. Like it was just different. It
yeah,
just had some kind of
yeah,
personality, which I think the women's game does a much better job of in general. It's so much more fun. There's so much more personality there. The Zamboni driver, it was like a big deal during that
right,
tournament. Like I love all that stuff. It just makes it, new fans aren't going to hate this. Like you're just kind of like
right.
giving a lot of access points into this is interesting, this is different, or whatever the case is. And those things just kind of jump to the top of my head.
Yeah, and I think it's important for them to do that kind of thing because they're trying to grow the sport, right? They're trying to grow women's hockey, whereas the NHL has been around forever, and it's for now stuck in its ways, and but still there are so many fans, right? So many people are still watching no matter what. But it definitely would benefit the NHL to look at the NWHL and say, wow, these things are drawing viewers, drawing fans, new fans, reaching people that we haven't reached before. Maybe we should adopt some of these best practices. Maybe it'll be beneficial for us. So I don't know.
I think that's important. Making
Right.
sure to reach new audiences, and a new segment that we're going to do as part of our kind of expansion of everything is we're going to highlight a writer or a personality or media member of the week, and somebody that's doing good work in diversity and inclusion and all that
Yeah.
stuff. There's a really long list. We're hopefully highlight a bunch of people. I've saved a bunch of stuff already, which is great. I follow a lot of them on Twitter, and they're fantastic. And the first one you may already know about.
And if you don't, you should.
And if you don't, follow them right now.
Pause
the
this
podcast and
go on Twitter and press follow.
Yeah. They're doing amazing work. The Black Girl Hockey Club, founded in 2018 by Renee Hess to unite Black women in the hockey community. They've teamed up with the Seattle Kraken, creating some cool beanies to support the Black Girl Hockey Club scholarship program. They're getting noticed. I think they're doing a lot of work with a whole bunch of hockey leagues. from the NWHL. I'm sure they're working with the PWHPA. They're doing stuff with NHL teams. I can't say enough good things about what they are doing.
Yeah, definitely.
And definitely go follow them. Pay attention to what they're doing. They have the Get Uncomfortable pledge to fight racism in hockey, and
I think the Hurricanes just got in on that as well.
So there's a lot of I think they're bringing along with things like the Hockey Diversity Alliance and other groups, trying to find a way to kind of hold people accountable. And
right.
If we kind of talk about this, and I'm surprised I remembered. We always say, "Show me the receipts." This is a moment where you can actually have a receipt.
And you can show it.
And you don't need to make a donation. Find a way to get involved and promote what they're doing. Amplify the good work that they're doing. And when you can, help them. Because that kind of stuff's really important. So this is a time, and not a receipt so that you can post it somewhere and it's for vanity. This is because you're helping to grow a sport that you love, and it's important to do that. So I'm really happy to be doing this little segment. I'm extra happy that our first one's Black Girl Hockey Club. Take the Get Uncomfortable challenge, and definitely like James said, go follow them right now.
Right now. If you didn't do it yet, now pause it. I'm mad at you for not doing it before, but I'm not mad at you in about now because you just followed them. Good job.
Great, you're back. Thank you. Welcome back.
Thank you for
and you're just in time for NHL news.
Let's talk about the Lake Tahoe games. Despite the hiccup, right? They had the hiccup where they had to pause the game. There were some ice issues. And the crazy thing that they said, you know what? Screw it. We'll start again at midnight. That was so cool to me.
All right. Can we just pause on that for a second?
Sure.
I know I'm going off script. So that whole issue with the Columbus, Carolina game where it was offside and they called a penalty and it was a delay game thing and it was a goal and it was but we can just pause games for what was it? How long was the pause?
God, it must have been like over 6 or 7 hours.
All right, that's what I was gonna say. I thought it was it was like more than 6 hours. You're telling me there's no precedent to take the goal back or whatever that I can't even remember. It was so dumb.
Yeah.
There's no, but just hit pause on this for 6 hours. That won't have any influence on the game. That won't mean anything to anything that's going on. Just go ahead. You got to be kidding me.
Yeah. Well, the outcome stayed the same. In my opinion, the Avalanche were winning the game. They were the better team to start, and they wound up winning anyway. But I mean, look. Yes, with the bad, they were able to pause a game for 6-7 hours and resume it later. The good part about this was that it was so successful look, there weren't any fans and they couldn't do anything about having fans there, but you bet that there will be next time because the views were insane.
Well, do you make it in the future? I'm not saying that they shouldn't do things like Stadium Series, but games like this, making it a TV experience. Go, and especially like this, where if the NHL is trying to grow a market, you can all of a sudden just go anywhere. You can just play a game in Vermont.
Right.
Go find a beautiful lake, Lake George in New York or something like that. Or, you know what I mean? Like you can pretty much go find any beautiful spot has winter and go play outside and make it something for the players and obviously for sponsors and things like that. But you don't necessarily need to have fans there. I think it'd be amazing to have been there. Right. It makes me really want to be a legitimate reporter and be able to, you know what I mean? And go travel around. But
man, they really must have been. I was so jealous.
Yeah, it was super cool. Just seeing those photos that morning, or I think the day before.
Yeah.
The fact that it was next to the lake and not on the frozen lake didn't take anything away from it. It would be obviously impossible to do that on a frozen lake.
Yeah.
But I was like, it's kind of kitschy. Like, I guess he's like, you can just set up a rink anywhere and like take the roof off of it. I think on Coney Island, right? There's the rink like on the beach.
True.
Like right down it's like next to the Cyclone Stadium, right?
Well, yeah, but let's put it in this sort of context now. Let's just say they were like, let's do this in New York. Where would they do it? Where would you want to see them do it?
I think, seeing it next to like on Lake Tahoe, I'd love for them to do it in just a weird spot with like somewhat of an NHL connection where you can get alumni to come back and make it really interesting and highlight people from where that is. I think doing it and selfishly doing it somewhere in central New York, whether it's like on the shores of Lake Ontario somewhere.
That'd be pretty cool.
Because that background in the wintertime is crazy. It's the weather here is a little nuts.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be. I don't think it's easy to do an outdoor game anywhere, as we've seen. They still had to cancel for 6 hours.
They did it in California. So
they did it in California. So I think in Oswego, you have Eric Cole's from there. Rob Schremp is from Fulton. He's just south of there. You have I think Jimmy Howard's from Syracuse. Alex Tuck's from Syracuse. Boo Neves is from Syracuse. There's Joel Farabee is from Cicero, Syracuse area. So there's a lot of like current and former NHLers that can make that interesting, and kind of highlighting these kind of growth markets. And maybe New York isn't a growth market, but trying to find these places where like it's up and coming for hockey or something.
Yeah.
Or doing it like outdoors in Lake Placid somewhere, in the mountains or something. It doesn't have to be like on the shores of a lake. It could really be anywhere. What about you? Anything in mind? Anything that jumped out?
I mean, so to me, I'm thinking if it's going to happen in New York, they always they're going to have the Rangers be a part of it. And if they did another Rangers Islanders series, that'd be fine with me. And Central Park just comes to mind, right? I mean, how cool would it be to have an NHL game in the middle of Central Park, something that I've walked through probably at least a dozen times.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I know they practice there sometimes. The Rangers practice there.
Yeah, actually, side story. My uncle did a photo shoot with the New York Rangers after they won the 1994 Stanley Cup in Central Park, and they were skating around the ice in Central Park. And he was taking photos, and it was really cool. He designed Mike Richter's helmet that year as well. So
I forget that your uncle is like super legit.
Yeah, my uncle is a goalie mask guru. He has designed lots of masks before, namely Peter Mrazek. Who did he just do recently? Thatcher Demko. The other day when I saw him, he was like, "Hey, look who I'm casually texting." It was Thatcher Demko. I'm like, "Yeah, that's cool, whatever. I'm not jealous." Moving on. But yeah. Oh, and he just did Carter Hart's new Venom mask for the Flyers. It's really cool. So I tweeted out, I think. So if you haven't seen it, just check my media on Twitter. It's in there. Really cool stuff. And if you can't find it, just tweet me. I'll be sure to show you a picture of it. But yeah, really cool stuff there. But I would love to see a game in, like I said, in Central Park. I agree. I think that's. I think the atmosphere is so cool for it, right? I mean, it's New York City. People everywhere walking around, and then suddenly it's like, oh wait, what's going on over there? And it's like a hockey game. It'd be pretty cool if it was like just general admission. You just walk up to it. That would never happen, but it would be pretty.
I wonder where on Long Island you could do it.
That's like a good question.
In the wintertime, where it would work,
right? That I was trying to think of that.
Imagine a game on the beach on Long Island in the winter or something somewhere. I'm trying to think where it even makes sense. I mean, maybe any of the state parks. I don't. The logistics to me are a little over my head, so I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah. It's tough to pin down an exact location for Long Island, but I mean, with the way that they, if they were able to pull it off in California, I have no doubt in my mind they could find a spot in or on Long Island and get that done. But yeah, so the Lake Tahoe games were really cool. The Avalanche won their game. The Bruins won their game the following day. Really cool weekend at Lake Tahoe. I think the players loved it. The NHL loved it. And from what I saw, all of you loved it. So really cool stuff. Let's talk about the shocking news that we heard the other day regarding Artemi Panarin. He wound up taking a leave of absence from the New York Rangers. to go back to Russia and handle a situation in which he was accused of hurting physically an 18-year-old girl. And this was what was the year, John? Do you remember that they claimed that this happened?
He was 18.
Right. This was when he was in the
19.
KHL.
Yeah, and I can't recall how old he is now. So was he 26 or something?
Right. So regardless, it's at the beginning of his KHL career. He ends up taking a leave of absence. I saw a lot of chatter.
He's 29. Sorry. So
Yeah,
he's 10 years ago.
So I saw a lot of chatter. People were saying, well, if he's not guilty, why is he taking a leave of absence? Yada yada yada. That's neither here nor there, guys. He has a family that he has to go and take care of. So, he went back to get it all straightened out. And I'm not confirming or denying whether it did or did not happen, but a lot of the, what we know kind of, in my opinion, points to the fact that this was a fabricated story. His former coach is a loyal Vladimir Putin supporter. And Panarin is a adamant Vladimir Putin. What's the opposite of supporter that I can't even think of right now? He just does not support Putin, and he's very outspoken about that. So maybe, it has something to do with that. There's also a bunch of talk about how his former coach in the KHL he's a little bit of a loose cannon. He's been in some trouble before, and this is, wouldn't be a surprise if this was a fabricated story. It's just a tough situation. I hope that it works out, and the truth comes out. I don't know that we'll ever find out exactly what the outcome is, but it's just a really tough situation. Tough blow for the Rangers too, who lose their best player.
Yeah, I saw, and I'm surprised I didn't save it, but I did see a tweet that was saying that a bunch of the players or Panarin's teammates at the time were all denying this.
Yeah, they all denied it. Even Igor Arenko, who he is now a GM for one of the teams in the KHL, but he used to be the Julian Kamara, right? He was the main beat reporter in the KHL, basically the Elliot Friedman over there. And he's like, this is not true. This is a completely false statement here. So again, no verdict, but this is a bit of a tough situation, especially, like I said, for a young Rangers team who loses their best player. And for a guy who, listen, I know the Islanders lost out on Panarin. He almost was an Islander, but he just, from what I've been what I've seen around the league and from his teammates, I hear from his teammates, he sounds like a great guy, and you don't want something like this to happen to a guy like that. So let's hope it's not true. Let's hope that it was, something that they could work out, and, he's able to come back and pick back up where he left off. And, we'll have to check back in on this when the time comes, right?
Yeah, I wish him all the luck, because it's a bad situation. Like you said, the Rangers are also in a tough situation with this too, and sounds like they're supporting him, and helping him through it. And that's despite some other missteps by that organization very recently. This sounds like they're trying to get back on the right track with their team, and
and they fully
do
supported
right by
him.
them.
They fully supported him. Yeah,
and that's what I'm saying. Like, it sounds like this is not only just the right thing to do, but they're genuinely trying to help. So good on them. Which again, show the receipts. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's definitely a good one. Here's a question: is it possible to get a read on the best players and teams this season? Because they're not playing outside of their division. We kind of got a read on this where we started talking about this last week. But, you look at guys like Austin Matthews. He has 18 goals right now.
I think in 14 games, like, he missed a few.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. McDavid and Matthews are kind of ripping up the Canadian division.
Yeah.
And when you can play Vancouver and Ottawa combined 16 times, you're going to score some goals. And when you're playing them three times a week, or it's you can score a goal a game. That's what's going to happen. It's like Sidney Crosby against the Islanders. He just scores points every time. That's just what he does.
Too soon.
Yeah, probably too soon. We'll get to that. But that's kind of that it's just a really good example. I don't know if you can really get a good read. Like I know I was thinking about like who's going to be the top scorer in the league. It's like I don't know. Not everyone's competition is exactly the same. I mean, the East Division is a lot tougher than
Oh yeah,
a lot of
100%.
other divisions.
I'll tell you right now, if Austin Matthews is in the Mass Mutual East, he ain't scoring 18 goals. He might have 13, 12,
I don't.
13.
The Leafs certainly aren't leading the division, but
Right.
I think no, I think his numbers come down to earth a little bit. I mean, you can't take too much away, but it's enough to say, okay, you're looking into it a little bit. There's this whole season has a giant asterisk on it. It's kind of like last season's postseason, right?
True.
That's just how it is. So even if the Islanders were in first place in the division, I understand, and they were leading the league in points. I understand they're not leading the league in points because they're not playing all the teams. They're not, they don't, they have very different competition than, if you're, I don't know, any other teams, it's, Vegas and Colorado playing each other a whole bunch, and that division's kind of heating up. That's probably another one, so I don't know. It's same thing with goaltending. Like you're playing a lot of the same teams over and over. I'm not sure you can get a really accurate read on anything as far as who's the best team, who's the best player.
Yeah.
Things like plus minus or anything like that. I've been thinking about it a lot too, because everyone loves the comparative thing. It's an interesting narrative for a lot of people.
What I think you're going to see is you're going to see very different seasons for individual players and teams next season, right? They're planning on having a regular season starting in October. Our good friend Nick Alberga had already mentioned that earlier this year. So I think you're going to see a very different turn of events, and some guys who, like we were talking fantasy before. If you picked up some guys who were doing well this year, I might have to break it to you that next year those guys might not do so good because things are going to get back to normal. Hey, who knows? Maybe they'll do better.
I mean, a good example of this on the Islanders is Anders Lee. Guy's got 8 goals already.
Yeah,
and he's not been on that trend for some time as like an actual goal scorer. Now, could he have turned it back on? And because Barzal's on a heater, he's on a heater, and that's just one going, the other one's going. Yeah, that's totally possible. Would I bank on it? 18 games in the season that he has 8 goals next year? Probably not.
Yeah, we'll see.
So I think it's just something to keep in mind as we go through the season, and I have some other questions about the Islanders specifically that I added. I don't know if you see it. Yeah. I don't know if you saw yet.
I did. We'll get there, but before we do, let's talk about New Jersey, who named a new captain last week, and that is Nico Hischier. And this comes as no surprise to me. He was the number 1 overall pick a couple of years ago. He's just 22 years old, and some people might think that that's a little too young, but it's starting to happen more and more these days. It started with Sidney Crosby, right? His second season, he was the captain of the Penguins. But then, you see guys like McDavid get to see, Jack Eichel get to see. So it's not so uncommon for a young guy to be the captain. And, Hischier is a as you've seen before, he is a leader, right? I think he went back to, where's he from? Switzerland?
That sounds right.
And I think they have the mandate for you to be in the military for like a month. And even though he wasn't going to actually, be on any deployments or anything, it was his duty to make sure to go back and fulfill his month's role, whether it was just, a paper job, a desk job, somewhere. He did it. And the thing is, he could have gotten out of it, but he did it anyway. So that just shows you the kind of character he is. You're looking at me like you didn't know that happened.
No, I know that. I was trying to think about other players that had kind of done that. And I read an interview today with Islanders prospect Robin Salo, where he also mentions that he did that in Finland.
Yeah.
And that it's mandatory. So I was trying to think of, there's a bunch of countries that make it mandatory to go do that. And I think I think it speaks a lot to his character.
And the Devils were like really cool about it. Like they highlighted it and they put an article out about it, and they kind of, took you through a day in his life, doing that.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I'm gonna have to go back and check that out. And I think he's a um he's definitely a good person because he's kind of been around a little bit. There's a lot of youth infusion. There's some veterans around, but um there's a small core there that they're trying to build around, and they'll come back. Blackwood's kind of come out of nowhere. Happy to see them. You want the Devils to be good. You want the teams to be good around the Islanders. Maybe not the entire division, the entire East Division or Metro Division like it has been.
Yeah.
You expect teams to drop off. Instead, they've all kind of gotten better. But specifically with those rivalries, you want to see them do well.
Yeah.
So that it's good competition. So you're not beating the Devils and it's like, yeah, we should beat them. I want to make it a good game. I want to make it like it means something the last game of the season. I want to Wade Dubois poke check in a shootout to, win it. You know what I mean? Like, I think those moments are really good. And when you do beat them, it just feels so much better. And for those of you who want to add the Captain C to your Nico Hischier jersey or update any of your Islanders swag, you can do that. Rangers too. Any team. It doesn't matter what team they have. You can do that at Amity Harbor Sports. On the Island is brought to you by Amity Harbor Sports. They are a family-owned and operated business for over 40 years who specializes in hockey and baseball equipment. What you might not know is that they also specialize in logo design, screen printing, and embroidery, and work with groups to customize popular items such as tees, hoodies, joggers, jerseys, hats, masks, and more. They create custom apparel in a broad range of designs, colors, and styles, and offer popular brands at wholesale prices, including Bauer, CCM, Under Armour, Athletic Knit, Champion, American Apparel, Adidas, and more. With remote learning and work from home still pretty prevalent, they've also set out to change the way the industry sells and fundraises by creating online pop-up stores for selling branded and personalized apparel products and gear. You can learn more at amityharborsports.com on Instagram and Facebook, and check out their Long Island Hockey Co. clothing line at longislandhockeyco.com or on Instagram at Long Island Hockey Co.
Yeah, so let's talk about the Islanders. It's about that time. And Anthony Beauvillier is back this week. It's great news for the team. Started off on the third line with Pageau and Wahlstrom, and I actually really liked that. Kind of wish it would have stayed. He eventually found his way back to the second line. And the first two lines started to take form to what we've seen mostly in the past, right? Lee, Barzell, Eberle, Beauvillier, Nelson, and Bailey.
That was after a couple of games, like while Beauvillier was on that line, and then it kind of shifts, and then Cole gets hurt, so that shifts things around. And
I wonder if Cole, when he comes back, if that changes things again. Komarov's in as of now. I imagine that he comes back out once Cole is healthy. I don't know what happened to Cole. Do you? I don't think they really announced or said.
No, I don't know what the injury was. I don't even know if they've, and maybe it's probably buried somewhere if it's a lower body or upper body injury.
Could be. Yeah, well, I think they say upper body injury, but like they, what caused it, we have no idea.
No, I know, and I don't remember anything specific.
Yeah.
What I will say is, about Cole, because I know there's a lot of differing opinions about the guy right now. He's obviously not putting points up. However, when he's in the lineup, they're doing very well. I tweeted about it the other day.
Give us the stats, man.
And I don't have it up in front of me, but they're 5-1, I believe. With him in the line, 5-1-2 with him in the lineup, and then 3-5-2 without him in the lineup, or something like that, where they're just not playing well.
5-1-2 with him in, 3-5-1 with him out.
Well, I was pretty close there, and I think it showed me with thinking about it a little bit more, it showed me something I think it's important about the depth of the forward group. I think they're one player away from really rounding this out. And we've talked about this before, how being able to bump one player down, would make a huge difference. So when he's in the lineup and you can bump down a Bailey, or you can bump down somebody on that third line, now that you have a Wahlstrom that he's looking more and more comfortable, he's sniffing around that net. He's gotta pop another one, or start racking up assists pretty soon with Pageau being on heater. But I think seeing how important, it's not necessarily that first line winger. We've talked about that. It's a matter of like just moving one guy down the line up to that third line to play with Pageau and who turned out to be Wahlstrom. And with Dal Cole in the lineup, and that they're holding on to the puck more than half the time when he's on the ice with what was Nelson and Eberle for that period. That's so important. Right. And I wonder what that looks like in future years if it's not Dal Cole. Maybe what they've been looking for all this time was a middle six guy and not a first line guy, or it doesn't need to be a Panarin. I know you have opinions, and we'll get to another player later, but I wonder if it's that kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean,
and moving Lee down. You know what I mean? Like, it's about filling out. It's not necessarily about finding the right first line guy. It's about who's going to get moved down the lineup and make it deeper, because that's where the Islanders are getting success right now, because their first and third lines are scoring goals.
So the way I see it, there's a cap, right? There's like a potential cap, and the Islanders haven't hit that cap yet. Having Dal Cole in the lineup pushes it up, but it still doesn't reach that max potential, right? I like Dal Cole on the second line, and I think that if the pucks start bouncing his way, he could put a couple in the net. Nelson's really the scorer on that line, and Bailey could feed. And people have opinions about Bailey. We'll talk about it, but Dal Cole, like you said, on the second line gives them good depth, because you could put Pavillier on the third line and have essentially two second lines going. They could play equal minutes and have Pageau and Wahlstrom out there with Pavillier,
or Bailey, Either to me, it's interchangeable. I think both of them are. Maybe that third line needs a setup guy in Bailey more than they need speed with Pavillier. Wahlstrom can obviously keep up, so you just need someone to set them up.
Decision. Like, they can't keep flip-flopping. They need to let the line. Yeah, they need to let the lines build some chemistry. So, I like Dal Cole being in the lineup, and I think that once he's back, he'll probably slot in on the third line. We'll probably see Pavillier stay there. But it's good to know that if things get stale, they could switch it up, and there is something there. Eberle was doing really well in the second line.
I think he was doing well. It had nothing to do with the line mates necessarily.
True.
He was the one driving play,
and he looked really good on the first line again the other night. So
yeah, he didn't miss a beat. And I think the Dal Cole is obviously not a top six player. Let's not confuse any of this.
True.
He is, however, on this team because he creates space for the other two players. Well, he's going to track that puck down. He's going to get it back for Nelson or whomever else on that line. And I think that's what they need on that line. Right. It's just a matter of Nelson's only scoring on the power play right now, and Bailey looks like he's asleep. So
we've said this before, right? If Dal Cole can just play his role, do his job, it's enough. And that's essentially what he's doing.
And he's not getting that line isn't necessary when Dal Cole's on it, or at least this season or whatever. I don't think they're getting hard. Like, they're not getting defensive zone starts. They're getting a lot of offensive zone stuff. I think they're just like Dobson and Green. They're sheltering them a little bit. Yeah. But when they're out there, they're effective.
Right.
I think the opposite could be said of, I know people are, and again, I'm going off script here, I apologize. The Mayfield Leddy pairing, and I think even in our chat the other night we were talking about that during the game, that they're, I don't know about liability, but I think it's not great. They're not playing very well, but I think they're getting tough assignments. Like, you're playing the best players, you're gonna get beat. They're going to make you look bad. The goal is to limit that as much as possible. It's not like, it's like, again, playing against a Crosby or Ovechkin or some of these guys, they're going to get their chances. You just have to make sure that you're not getting as many chances in the game against you, and that they're not high danger chances. They're going to find a way. They're the best players. That's just how it works. So,
Speaking of the Penguins, the Islanders lost 2 in a row to them this week. First game, not great. Got dominated. Slow to the puck, slow all game. They typical real bad Islander loss. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, they looked dead. It looked like during that however long it was, that 5-game skid.
Yeah,
that just inconsistent shift to shift.
Yeah.
They looked sleepy out there. That was a tough one to watch.
Game 2 was better. They throw 35 shots on net. They held the Penguins to 18. They lose 3-2. It's unbelievable.
That was a good game. No bounces.
It was a great game, right? And
that was the big problem.
Trotz was even like, what do you want me to say? We played a great game.
And that's what you want to see, though. Like, if you're going to throw up a stinker every once in a while, you have to come back and lock it down. You hope that it comes, you at least squeeze a point out of it.
Yeah. And then they get the Sabres and they play not as bad as the first game against the Penguins, but definitely nowhere near as good as the second game against the Penguins. And they probably should have lost, but they end up winning that game. So it kind of made up for the loss to the Penguins in that game too. Just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. I can't really explain the puck luck here, but it was good. The thing is, they've seen the Sabres, 3 times now this season. It's just good to see that, they're beating the teams that they should be beating. If they lose a couple games
for the most part, they've also lost to the Devils. They should be,
Devils were on a hot streak. They took I think they took the Flyers, they took Boston. They're sneaky good.
They're sneaky good. And Jack Hughes, we've said it before, looks fantastic this season. Looks like a completely different player. I wonder. Yeah, we'll get to some different stuff.
Yeah, but right now the Islanders are third in the division. They're a few games ahead of the teams around them. Does that concern you a little bit?
I didn't like looking at the standings this morning and seeing Boston at 16 games, Washington at 17 games, Philly at 15, and Pittsburgh at 16. The Islanders are tied with Washington in points with 21, with 18 games played. They have 3 more games played than Philadelphia, and they're only 2 games ahead. And they're 2 games ahead or behind rather than Pittsburgh, who only has 16 games, and they're also 2 points ahead of them. Now they've dropped games to both of those teams, which is the concern.
Yeah.
It's not like it's Boston or the Rangers where they've beaten them a few times, or Buffalo where they have their number. To me, I don't like the positioning. I want to see them, that the consistency. And that was the Buffalo game on Monday night was the epitome of the season. That if I had to sum it up, and they've done this a few times where they wind up squeaking out a win, but again, shift to shift or period to period, they're just not the same team. There's something about, I don't know if something's going on out there and they're getting frustrated. It's a lot of errant passes. It's a lot of just forcing plays where they shouldn't, getting where they should be getting the puck deep. They're trying to make an extra move. I've heard Butch say it a couple times on Monday night's broadcast where it was late in the game, and I think it was Bullock that came in with the puck, and he's just got to get that in. He's just got over the blue line. He tried to make one extra move, and luckily the puck kind of trickled behind the Sabres net at some point. But I don't like that, and it's concerning because they're inconsistent, and it's so easy. Again, they dropped 2 against Pittsburgh. If that happens this weekend, they play Boston on Thursday. But if it happens again, if they only take one of these next 3 games, they're in 5th place. It's that quick. Now, it's 30% of the way through the season, if you can believe it already.
Yeah.
For the Islanders, 18 games, right?
Yeah, true. I was writing an article and I JG Pageau was 18 games played. Oh my God.
Yeah. So, and that's what they played the most in the division.
Right.
So that's what's concerning is if they're going to have games, if they're not going to have games in hand, and they're going to have teams in their rearview mirror, make it incumbent, just like in a game, make them go 200 feet. It's incumbent upon them to win the games that they have in hand. Don't make it easy for them by having games and playing more games and then losing those games. Take advantage. If you're playing a little bit more now than other teams, win those games, because you're going to get a break when they start playing a little bit. When schedule, they have 2 days off this week. Teams are going to catch up and play. You're going to have your moment too to play catch up or pad your stats. You want to make sure it's padding your stats and not playing catch up.
I'm not overly concerned. It's been shaky play here and there, and you're totally right in your assessment. But I'll tell you why I'm not overly concerned. I'm not overly impressed with any team in this division. We've beaten the best twice. Are we still the only team to give them 2 regulation losses?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, we've beaten them. Philly looks out of sorts.
If you're comparing the last week or so, they still have a bunch of players on the COVID list.
Right, but still they
got to take advantage of it, and I think, and that's again, while Philadelphia is still playing games and don't have guys in the lineup. Obviously, they're not playing them right now, but you have to keep that in mind. They're still sniffing around the Islanders at 3 games behind, and they're only 2 points behind them. And I think I know. But again, that's what worries me.
Even at the beginning of the season, and I know it's a weird year, no camp or short camp, no exhibition games. We've seen this with the Flyers, right? They lose it on themselves sometimes. So the Flyers don't impress me. The Bruins don't impress me anymore. They took a big hit this offseason, and I just don't see the same team on the ice night in and night out.
They're finding ways to win,
right? But they're not winning against the Islanders, and that's
so far. There's 6 games left, or however many games left.
Yes, you're right.
When it's game 7 in the series this year, and the Islanders have won 5 or 6 of those. Talk to me then.
Right. No, sure. But I'm just letting you know why right now I'm not concerned yet. I'm confident because they've proven that they can hang with and beat Boston. Again, Philly, I'm not impressed with. Pittsburgh, I'm not impressed with. Buffalo is Buffalo. New Jersey is not better than the Islanders. I think that next time they meet, the Islanders, will figure it out. They will win. Let's see how long Panarin's out for with the Rangers. Lafreniere has not been as advertised. Kakko hasn't really done anything since he's been in this league. So I'm not overly concerned as of yet.
I know I'm the Debbie Downer of the two of us. That's probably one of the easier things to admit.
Your words, not mine.
Yes, on a recording anyway. But looking at the Islanders' recent schedule and all that, they're 6-2-2 in their last 10. That's second best in the division.
There you go.
They're along with Boston, who's a +15. The Islanders are a +1. Everybody's at 0 or a minus.
There you go.
In the division. Varlamov is strong. That's who they're going to ride. They're going to ride their centers and their goaltending to the playoffs. Yeah. If that's how they make it. Varlamov will quietly be the 4th best goal in the league. Sorokin will come on and do his thing too, I'm sure, at some point.
Yeah.
And, hopefully get some playing time. But,
please.
And when you got a guy like Varlamov playing as well as he is, it's hard to say oh, sure, just don't play him. So it's a little bit of a tough situation for Trotz. I definitely see him, but he will need his rest come playoff time, and when those games are mean a lot more, and the spotlight, the intensity, everything kind of goes up there. I think it's important, but yeah, there's a lot to be positive about around the Islanders. I would just like them to do it on a more consistent basis. It's totally one thing they're going to lose games. I want to see them lose games like on Saturday against the Penguins.
Right.
Yep. That was a good game. It was frustrating, and you go out there and you can use that energy in the next game. You don't necessarily lose momentum like that. Point streak snapped, whatever. And that was the other night. But you lose, you snap the point streak in just a dud of a hockey game. That was hard. That was just a tough game to watch in general. Even if I didn't care about either of those teams, it was a tough game. But that's my problem, is that when they're losing hard. And then when they lose even a good game, well, now it's 2 losses in a row. And it's a team nipping at your heels. That's where I get concerned. When they're playing good hockey and they do it for these small stretches. And I said this in the beginning of the season, that was my biggest concern. And if this team had a setback this season, they can either be really good for 56 games, or they're going to be very mediocre and finish 5th in this division. And you still have, a winning record and all that stuff and a positive goal differential, but I can see them just not playing well enough for long enough to really do it. And right now, they have to even out a little bit, in my opinion.
I have a question. Is the power play good?
I don't know. I think, can it be no, even if they're scoring goals? I know that's the point. I know that's literally the measurement of that.
Well, look, I feel like they're moving more. I feel like they're getting bodies in front of the net more. Let me tell you, man, that Wahlstrom shot the other night that led to the Pageau goal. Oh man.
But you notice how the first unit goes out there and they're playing hot potato. The pucks are on the outside. As soon as Wahlstrom gets on the ice, it was within 10 seconds. He just gets an opportunity, puck on net, goal. And you're like, oh, okay, that's what happens. And I hate being that guy that's sitting there on the couch yelling, shoot. But for God's sakes, shoot the puck, and you see what happens. This
is what I've been saying, though. And I put this article out for Isles blog a week and a half ago, and I was like, it's time to give Wahlstrom more minutes. Put him next to Barzell, put him on the first power play unit, and let him rip it. I love Ryan Pulock. He can't hit the net for anything.
Okay, we need to pause on that. He's obviously an asset to this team. He's an offensive asset. But my God, I think, what did I text you? They just need to have him shoot pucks for an hour after the game, below the hips or at the knee level, something.
Full read.
Yes, 100%.
They need hands, for God's sake.
They need Herb Brooks out there keeping the lights on after a game, and just again, just shoot. I can't, and it makes me feel better because in beer league they do that too. These headhunters shots, they're trying to knock my teeth out at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday. But the same thing for Pulock. He's just trying to shoot it as hard as he can without being strategic about it, and it's not helped. And that first unit kind of looks like crap.
That's what I'm saying, right? You need a shooter, and I'm not trying to say, I'm all hopped up on Wahlstrom juice because he's so great. He's been so great
is Wahlstrom juice a thing?
Yeah, it is now. For 12 minutes, he's been really good, right? No. He was drafted with an NHL ready shot. His profile before the Islanders took him said NHL ready shot. I'm not making this up. His shot has been ready. He needed to work on some facets of his game, and he did. He's proving that he can get these shots on goal. He did it. It led to a goal. I get it. It wasn't his goal, but it doesn't matter. You get pucks on net. It good things happen.
Okay, is the difference between what and if we're strictly speaking about the power play, and maybe we can zoom out a little bit about the Islanders forward group and the difference between guys like Wahlstrom and other players, maybe a guy like Nelson, but the difference between Pulock and Wahlstrom, is it just that one guy's shooting quicker than the other one? What I mean is the release. Wahlstrom gets the puck, it's on and off his stick.
He knows how to shoot.
He just sees an opportunity, whereas Pulock is taking this, and maybe dating myself, Pulock is taking this Al McGinnis wind up at the blue line, and it's everyone sees this coming. Whereas Wahlstrom is just puck on and off his stick.
What I'm saying. The mechanics and the mentality are different. Wahlstrom has the
mentality. That's what I'm looking for.
Well, right, and Wallstrom has the mechanics to for a really, really, really good shot.
Right.
But he also has the mentality. He's done it a couple of times. He has the mentality. I got the puck. I'm shooting it. Gone. Got it. Gone.
Bellows did that too. I gotta say. I mean, for the lapse in whatever his games recently, all that aside, when he was playing regularly, that puck was off his stick very quickly.
Talk about that for a minute. He didn't play for 3 weeks, and then we're like, oh yeah, let's put him on the second line. That's probably a good idea. And then they criticize him for making mistakes. Are you kidding? No.
I think it's one thing to criticize him, but my issue with that was where was the accountability for Komarov or anyone else? Bellows makes all right. Maybe it was 2 mistakes in that game, and they were pretty egregious. But
2 mistakes. I get it.
I think that's fine. Have accountability. Make that your thing. Don't do it against young players. They ostracize him.
He's 21 years old, and he didn't play for 3 weeks. Literally 3 weeks. And you decided it was a good idea to throw him back in the top 6 and then ostracize him because he made 2, costly mistakes at 21 years old on 3 weeks of downtime. It doesn't make sense to me. Again, I'll say it again. I love Barry Trotz. I swear by him. I read his Bible every night. But I don't get some of these things. And look, no coach is perfect. He's the closest thing to it, in my opinion. But I don't think it was fair for Bellows. And I think he should absolutely 100% get another opportunity. But I speak my piece on Bellows. I hope the kid gets another shot. We'll see what happens with him. Wallstrom needs to stay in the quote-unquote Ovi's office because it's working. It worked for the first opportunity he got. It worked. And I've seen on multiple occasions the second the puck touches his stick and he's anywhere in shooting vicinity, he does.
Top of the circle down, he's shooting that puck.
He's always shooting, and they need that. I think he needs more exposure. Keep him on the third line, that's fine. Put him on the first power play unit. I think at this point, look, I get trusting your veterans. I get, letting them work out the kinks. I think at this point we're okay taking Josh Bailey off of the power play unit, put Beauvillier where he goes, put Wallstrom on the first unit. However you have to work it, Barzal could really use him.
Barzal, I don't understand his placement because Pulak is in that Ovechkin's office spot on the left wing wall for the one-timer. And Dobson is playing quarterback. Barzal on the right wing wall has no angle as a righty. He needs to be that bumper. Now, I think what winds up happening is that you need to kind of make a decision here. The chemistry that he has with this guy like Eberle, and obviously you have Lee in front on that unit. Yeah. So you put Wallstrom maybe in Barzal's spot. Again, I believe Wallstrom's also a righty.
Yes.
So he doesn't have a great angle, but you want to get the puck on the net. You can put Barzal in the bumper spot with Lee in front.
Yeah,
that's probably not a bad idea either. And you move Eberle down to the second unit and switch him if you're going to have somebody in that on that left wing wall where Wallstrom is on the second unit. That makes just as much sense. Still a righty. You're not changing the dynamic so much as the mentality. And that was a great word. That was exactly what I was trying to think of. You're adding another shooting element to that first unit, and a guy in front like Lee that can clean up the garbage, and Barzal in the high slot where if a rebound comes out that far, you can snipe. He's not sniping from the half wall on the right wing. It's not going to happen. He's got to make too many moves. And frankly, he loses the puck quite often on that wall, trying to get the pass back.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work. So I think there's an opportunity there. You're probably right. Moving some players around.
Yeah, you got
that. So as we just talk up the power play unit, now we're ripping it apart. But
I mean, look, the power play has been good. You could be right where they're scoring goals, but it's still not good. But it has the potential to be, and it could be even better, right? Instead of, I don't think we've ever had 2 power play goals in a game. 1 a game for consecutive games is like, wow, look at us. But 2 in a game is still unheard of. So
I don't think it's sustainable. I don't think how they operate. Like, you're obviously scoring goals, but it could be off a rush. It could be off a rebound. Like, it's not necessarily anything you're doing other than offense. Like,
but here's
you're
the thing.
getting the puck to the net. That's not a good power play, right? Like, that's not the. It's you have to have movement. You have to have players moving around. I loved, where did Olofsson come from?
So
Jesus.
okay,
Guys like that. Like, the guy just wants to put the puck on the net. And he's doing a good job.
Look at Buffalo. Yes, worst team in the league, best power play, because they do what they have to do to rotate the puck, get guys out of position, get the puck to Olofsson, and he fires it on net, and it works literally 30. I think they're 38% of the time right now, which is a lot. So
it's kind of ridiculous.
It's kind of ridiculous. I think it was when they played the Islanders the other night. They said 40. So if that's true, they can do that with Wahlstrom. They can do it. He showed it. They can do it. Get it done. That's enough. Move on. Let's talk about a shooter who might be available.
You're all about this right now. Yeah.
Philip Forsberg is on the block, supposedly. Fourth period reports Nashville might be blowing it up. They named 3 untouchables. Surprisingly, Pekka Rinne is there. Ryan Ellis. And who was the other? Roman Josi. Philip Forsberg's available? Are we kidding? I know. You don't love him. Here's the way I see it. Nashville has always been defensive-minded first, kind of like the Islanders. So he doesn't put up a ton of points, right? He's a 60-point player for the most part, sometimes 50, sometimes 60. But more often than not, he's near the 30-goal mark. A couple 30-goal seasons, 28-goal seasons, 29-goal seasons. And he has never really played with a bona fide number 1 center. Barzal would be the best center he's ever played with, right? He's always played with Ryan Johansson or Michael Granlund. Nobody of Barzal's status. Those 60 points could easily be 75 to 80 points next to Matt Barzal because, look, you have a guy like Philip Forsberg shooting the puck off of a feed from Barzal, and let's just say it doesn't even go in. It creates a rebound. Anders Lee will be there to clean that up. I think that this is a move that if it's available, you go after. And look, I get so many people, again, on Twitter, the Holy Land. Well, what about the cap space? What about the money? This and that and the other thing. I get it. Good GMs find a way. Tampa Bay found a way, and I know some of you are going to say, well, Kucherov got hurt. Doesn't that help? Yeah, of course it helps. Boychuk got hurt, and it helped us too. It happens. GMs find a way. And if they have to do maybe, contract swaps and stuff like that, you do it, but you find a way. I think, maybe 2 of the defensive prospects coming up, two out of the 3 in Wild, Salo, and Bolduc, packaged with picks, maybe, Holmstrom or whatever, you get it done.
Yeah, I wonder about in a league that you need more rookie contracts on your roster and having them produce to, when these guys finally start bubbling up, the Islanders are finally starting to get their own crop of prospects, and they've done a really good job on defense. Looks like Robin Sells, another defenseman that they're going to be able to kind of groom to be on the roster sooner than later, especially because Green is not getting younger. Should be calling him Gray at this point. Like he's good as maybe a 7th defenseman or whatever the case is.
You got me on that
one. Yeah, that's not on the script. That's right off the dome here. But I think trading the future away, especially during a season that's a complete toss-up, in a season just ahead of the expansion draft. I think he's a good player. In a normal year, probably. In a year with an expansion draft, and you're going to be making all these moves, and something that we didn't talk about which we probably should have, and we're not going to go through the whole thing with the NHL draft maybe not happening this year and it being pushed and doing both drafts next year so that everyone has an opportunity to see these players and prospects play if they're not playing in Europe. Whenever those trades are going to happen and however that's going to work, I just don't know if this is a time like, and this is why I kind of posed the question in here. And as we kind of wrap up things, I don't know what makes this season a failure or a success just because of it's being a weird year, because you're playing these same teams over and over.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know that this is the year where you're like, you got to be all in. Like if you're Lou Lamoriello and Barry Trotz, you have to be so confident that this is the piece, just kind of like last year. Pageau is the piece. We can make a serious run at this. We can really turn things around. Now, they were aided a little bit by a huge pause, but they go into the bubble and they do some damage. They gave the Stanley Cup champions a run for their money,
Right.
the eventual Stanley Cup champions. So is this the year? Based on what I've seen, no. This is not the year you start selling off prospects to do this. And again, I know I'm the downer guy, but we're going to be super pissed when one of these prospects makes it, even if it's Bellows. I know that was who you would think.
Up. Like you're trading a possible for a guarantee. Philip Forsberg is.
For 2 years, for a year and a half, for 1.7 years of a contract.
Like as the contract runs up, you know that every time a player comes to Long Island, they like being here and they want to stay.
Yeah, but then he's going to be 28. How long are you going to sign him? Or 29, depending on when his birthday is.
Taylor Hall signed a 1-year deal with Buffalo and apparently now wants to stay, which I don't buy because apparently Jack Eichel's on the block. I still don't even buy that, but we'll see where that goes.
Hall has 1 goal, I believe, this season.
It really just has to, it just depends on the cap situation moving forward. I don't think that,
and that's what I'm saying. You don't know that this year because it's not going to go up.
Right,
but you have an expansion draft. So then you bring a Forsberg into the Islanders lineup. That's 1 more player exposed. Or you're exposing him, which means then you lost him for nothing.
But Lamoriello doesn't do anything uncalculated. So if he does it, there will be a plan in place to keep him. And there will be a plan in place to make sure that moving forward, the cap situation is handled. He does.
I know he'll do it and have his bases covered for the most part. I just don't know if I agree with it. And with the issue that I have is that the Islanders don't have a ton of forward prospects. So even if Bellows is kind of a tweener AHL, NHL guy, other than Wahlstrom, that's the closest forward prospect you have.
You trade him to get a legitimate winger.
You just be pushing it off a few years.
But you have Beauvillier on the wing, 22. You have your other wingers in Wahlstrom and like it's not like there's the core of the team is not so old that you can't replenish these prospects.
You're right, and it's not like they aren't still drafting players and as of the last couple of years. So people can come up, but it's just rare that they make that. And especially for the Islanders, that they have a Bellows and a Wallstrom even on the roster. Forget about
William Four was a steal. Have you seen what he's been doing? I've been writing about it.
That's true. I mean, there are some players that are surprising that I'm hoping that can translate.
DeFore, for some reason, was projected to go anywhere between the 2nd round and the 5th round of the draft. Right now, he is dominating the QMJHL and has absolutely nothing left to prove at that level. He is scoring at will. He's had multiple. I think he had a 7-game goal streak. Missed a game. Didn't miss game. Didn't score 1 game, but had 3 assists, and then went on another 10-game goal streak.
Yeah,
didn't score. Had a couple more assists, and then another goal. He is tearing it up.
I'll say.
I think they have a good a scorer in DeFore.
I'll say this: if a trade does happen for Forsberg or somebody else for the top 6, I will enjoy it in the moment and not get ahead of myself and say, oh, I can't believe they gave up. I don't care. If they get somebody and they're going to help, just like Pageau last year.
Yeah.
I will look at it in a vacuum and say, this is good for right now. I will worry about next season and the future after this season.
Right.
Let's see what they can do.
And be confident that it works, right? Because, we've been
have some confidence that they know what they're doing. And again, I think they're picky. And I wonder if a guy like Forsberg, and we've asked this question a million times on this show, what kind of player is actually going to work within the Trot system?
Yeah, and
in that top six.
I don't see him not being, part of the solution moving forward if they do, move hit for him. He's only 26. He wears the A in Nashville. He's a leader. I don't see any issues on the Forsberg front. So,
your point is well made. He's a 20. He's pretty much good for 20 goals a year. He's already got 8 in 17 games. So he's yeah. So
and that's on a defensive minded team. Yes, albeit we are a defensive minded team as well. But again, he played with Ryan Johansson, who I haven't heard anything from him in 2 years in Nashville. Matt Duchene just can't figure it out anymore. He's not playing with centers at the level of Barzal.
You're right. And like I said, I think if they can at least, a year after this one, you hope that they can make a deal. You don't want them too far after 32 years old, and you wonder if you'll only take a 3-year deal.
4 years.
Something like that. I mean, you're pretty much guaranteeing that, after 32, 33, he's going to fall off the map. Yeah. But, it would kind of be like if the Islanders snagged Hoffman. He's a perennial 20, 30 goal guy. He's a little older. You still want him in the lineup for a few years. He'd be great next to this guy. I don't think he's quite the sniper that Hoffman is, but maybe he's better at a two-way game than Hoffman is. And he can. I wonder what that lineup looks like who you move around.
And now I'm going to leave you with a cliffhanger for maybe not next week's episode, but an episode that we will probably get to at some point, likely next offseason. If the Islanders don't acquire a sniper at the trade deadline this season, will Alex Ovechkin be available, and will the Islanders go after him because of the Barry Trotz connection? Find out on Nassaumen Hockey Podcast in sometime this future. Thanks to everybody who's listening to the podcast right now. Thank you to the Hockey Podcast Network, the Hockey Writers, and of course, each and every one of you at this moment. Make sure to check out Amity Harbor Sports and Long Island Hockey Company. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to or watch the show. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Nassaumen Hockey and find our work at the Hockey Writers. You can also check out our Patreon to support the show and get access to our weekly newsletter, additional articles, and bonus episodes. Until next time, everybody, let's go Islanders.